Hello everyone, welcome back. Got a tag video for you today. This is the Where Do You Read tag, which was created by Glenn from Glenn's Bookshelf. He was nice enough to tag me. And this is all about where we read and the sort of rooms we read in and that sort of thing. And from what I understand, Glenn is kind of looking to rearrange his setup in his own house to better promote his reading. And I like that idea. I myself have been thinking of moving things around lately, but maybe we'll get to that and maybe not. Let's see. Number one, in what room or rooms in your house do you do most of your reading? What are the benefits or limits to particular rooms? So in my house, that would be the living room. That would be in here. I call this the pink room. I've always called this the pink room. It was this color when we moved in. So a long time ago, we moved in here when I want to say I was about 11 when we moved in here. And then quite a few years ago, my grandparents moved out. I stayed here. So when we moved in, this room was always this color. And I just always called it the pink room. And then we have my bedroom, which is downstairs. So in the living room, of course, there's a big window. And the dogs I have like a coffee table set up for them, and they jump up on the coffee table, and it's like covered with a blanket and stuff, and it's safe and everything. But they jump up on there and they look out the window all the time, and they bark at people walking by and cats walking by and birds, and my Yorkie likes to bark at nothing at all. So that's sometimes distracting. You have the television in there, which usually if I'm in there, I'm watching TV. And I do read in there. But the drawback to that is just I'm more drawn to watching the TV. That's also where I keep like my laptop, because I don't get very good Wi-Fi back here, so I hardly ever use it back here or anything. Which I would like to. I would actually prefer to, I think. But on the other hand, that would probably introduce something interfering in here, I guess. Now in here, I've had this room set up like this for quite some time, but I only really started using it in the last 3 or 4 years, I guess, when I really started to take reading seriously, when I really wanted to dedicate a lot of time to reading and make it a priority every day, because there is no TV back here and I'm not distracted looking out the window or anything like that. The trouble with being back here, I think, though, is that I do like to sit in my front and look out the window and see people walking by and stuff like that. I do kind of like to see what's going on outside. And so that's somewhat of a drawback, really. But when I'm back here, I am mainly just reading. There's really nothing in this room but books, other than my desk where I keep some bills and things like that. But I'm not really a desk person, so I don't use it for anything else, really. But I have this couch, and I lay on this couch, and I'm just back here completely by myself and with my books and everything. And oddly enough, a long time ago, being in a room full of books that I hadn't read used to make me really, really anxious, and I used to avoid this room very seriously. But once I started taking reading seriously, or rather, prioritizing my reading so that I was reading more, that anxiety has really melted away, because I feel like I'm always making progress, whereas years ago that wasn't always the case. In my bedroom, the trouble with my bedroom is, but it's downstairs, and there's kind of it's like a sub basement, like a walkout basement, and so it's always much colder down there than it is up here. Like it's about 10 degrees colder down there than it is up here, actually. And in the wintertime, it's not abnormal at all for it to be 59 degrees in my bedroom, which when you're under the blankets and everything, that's just fine. But it's not really conducive to anything except sleeping, because sitting there being cold is not really all that much fun, right? And I've like put a chair down there and a lamp down there and tried to read down there, and it just doesn't work. It's never worked. And I do read in bed sometimes, but I also find that as time goes on, usually at this point in my life, when I go to bed, I'm just ready to go to sleep. And I don't have a television down there or anything like that. I don't even have a radio like this one. And I don't do a whole lot of reading down there anymore, but I do sometimes read when I'm in bed. I used to read until like 1 or 2 in the morning, and now I just don't. Question 2. What kind of chair do you prefer? Couch, bed, recliner, straight back chair, beanbag, etc. Why? So in my living room I have a recliner, and I sit in that most of the time. I don't hardly ever recline, but it rocks, and I really like to rock for some reason. But I've always had trouble lighting, like lighting my book or whatever, notebook or whatever I've got in my hand. So I have a lamp to my left, but it sits out at a weird angle, and it's like in front of my face. And I've always had trouble. Like I've tried to rig up all sorts of different lamps, and like I put a there's a shelf behind the chair. It's like I've got books on. It's not really a bookshelf. I've like stuck lamps on that to hang over. I've got a really big lamp with a bunch of different arms on it, but I don't like overhead light at all. I really prefer lamps to overhead light, which in here I usually lay back. And then I have this lamp here that comes out over. And you may notice, and I've angled the camera at a weird angle because I put aluminum foil on this lamp one time. I had this really terrible headache, and I put aluminum foil all over it so that I could angle the light straight at my book. And I've just kept it like that ever since, so that like my head and my eyes and everything will be in the shadow, but my book will be bright. And I think that's another question on this anyway. But I really prefer to lie down in here, and I hardly ever sit up straight and read in here. Like I might if the dog is there next to me or something, but it's really kind of rare for me to sit up in here. And I guess I really prefer to lie down when I think about it. But even when I'm in my recliner, I have a tendency, without actually reclining, to go from an upright position to a reclined position with like my legs up on the couch beside the recliner. And I will find myself like doing this, and I guess I prefer to lie down, I guess. Question 3. Do you have a book nook? How is it set up? Well, I guess we are in it, right? This is the pink room. Technically, it's terracotta. Technically, the walls in this room are terracotta. So we were friends with the lady who used to live here, and she said that these walls are terracotta. But it's the pink room to me. It's been the pink room to me for 20 some odd years now, and the pink room it will always be. And I guess you can see how it's set up. I'm not sure if this is exactly the question, but I have a bookcase over here. I have a bookcase over here. You see this, I have a giant bookcase over here, which is not really a bookcase. It's an entertainment center, an old one for like the big boxy TVs. And you would be able to see it, but I've angled this weird. Maybe I guess I can kind of shift it. See over there. And yeah, so this, I guess, is my book nook. And I've been thinking about making some changes in here. I've been thinking about making some changes for quite some time, actually. Although I really like the way it looks. But there are some things that kind of frustrate me, like having this giant coffee table right here kind of gets on my nerves sometimes, because it's really, I would really prefer the room to be more opened up. And having that, it doesn't look really big, like just in the video, but it's actually quite large. It's something like almost 4 feet long and almost 3 feet wide, something like that. It's quite big. And I also would like to move this credenza right here. That's what my grandma always called it, as a credenza. And the reason I would like to move this, even though I like the way the books are set up on it, is because the vent for the air conditioning is right there, right behind it, and right under this. All the vents up here are under windows, and so they get covered by curtains. It's really kind of frustrating, actually, but I guess that this house is old enough that all of that was done after the fact. Uh, but I would like to move that somewhere. That is very, very heavy. That is a very heavy piece of wood. But I would like to open that up so I could get more air in here and then maybe put a bookcase like right over here. But then that would cover up the red-tailed hawk print there. So I really don't know what to do. Anyway, I guess that's really kind of off topic though, isn't it? I mean, you can see how this is set up over here. I've got my lamp, and then the lamp arm here is out over my right shoulder. I've already talked about the aluminum foil. Now behind me here this is the top of an old desk, and so it has slots for like notebooks, and it has a cabinet and that sort of thing. I find that really useful and really helpful. I really like that. I like having that there. Got all my pens and everything because I do write. I write every day by hand. Not like books or anything, but I just write. Keeps my brain working. In the living room on my left, I have a coffee table, and on top of that coffee table are 3 of those metal like paper trays with 6 different levels where you can put notebooks. And I mean, I'm single, and so I don't have anybody telling me that I can't put my stuff in the living room, so I put stuff wherever I want it. There is no one around to complain except my dogs and my cat, and they don't really care what I do as long as I feed them and I'm not too loud and that sort of thing. And then to my right in there, I have a bookcase. And on that bookcase, at the moment, I have all my essay collections for my essay reading project. Not all of them. And then on the lowest part of that bookcase, there are like field guides to weather, bugs, trees, plants, fish, birds, and then I think there's a couple of dictionaries and that. It is very well set up for the way that I function, like in my head. Everywhere that I go, there will be like I will acquire books, and I will have a little area for my notebooks and things, and that is really everywhere that I go. I don't know if that's just sort of the way that my mind works, right? And I would feel really uncomfortable in a place where I couldn't have a setup like that. And if I had like a living room that was for a show or something, I would just hate it, absolutely hate it, and I would spend all my time in here. But I think maybe I have wandered off topic again. I don't know. I'm enjoying these questions. I hardly ever get to talk about stuff like this. Number 4, if you read in the same room as you watch TV, do you read and watch TV in the same chair or away from the TV? So in my living room, the way that I have it set up in there is, so it's a long rectangular room, and it's got a door on the far wall that you walk into, and it's just a big open chunk. But then the TV is in the corner of that side of the room, and then my recliner is on the far side of the room in the opposite corner. And so I can look at the TV and I can look out the window, and I can really see the whole room from that spot. And I really like that. And that's where I sit all the time, and I read in that chair sometimes, and sometimes I do read with the TV on, I'll admit. If I'm not feeling like doing serious reading or anything like that, I will just sometimes read with the TV on. Or if I'm just sitting with my dogs or something like that, sometimes I'll sit in there and I'll turn on like Bob Ross or sometimes Jacques Pepin. I really like to watch really old episodes of Jacques Pepin, and I can just zone those shows out completely and just read. And because my dogs don't really like to sit back here with me. That's the thing. Like my dogs prefer to be in the living room looking out the window. And so most of the time when I come back here to read, they just completely abandon me because they would rather be looking out the window. And I don't begrudge them that or anything. I guess we all need our space. In here I don't have a TV at all. And in my bedroom I don't have a TV. So in here I have this radio, and usually I just use that. I have a terrible ringing in my ears than I have for most of my life. I'm really used to it. But in silence like this right now, I hear it and it really bothers me. So sometimes I will put on music and listen to like instrumental music and that sort of thing. Uh, but in my bedroom, I don't have a TV, I don't have a radio, I don't have anything, and I haven't for years and years. I sleep a lot better. And my bedroom being in the basement, like when I turn the light off, it's pitch black. It's completely black. I mean, like you can't see anything. And I wonder sometimes what would happen if I had to sleep in a room with like a bright red light on a fire alarm or something like that. I think it would drive me nuts. Um, anyway, that is off topic as well. Question number 5. Do you prefer reading in a corner or along a wall or in the center of the room? I would say in the corner or along the wall. I I don't really I don't really think I've ever set up a room to sit in the center of it. I may have once or twice when I was much younger, uh, but it's not really convenient as far as like lamps and lighting and that sort of thing. Uh, but to be honest, it doesn't really matter for me personally where I'm sitting. Like I said, as long as I can like stretch out, I'm okay. As long as I have light, I'm okay. Number 6. What sort of lighting do you prefer, natural or electric? Is your reading space situated relative to the windows in the house and a south or eastern orientation? I can't read my writing. I really prefer electric lighting, and I really like soft white light or uh, even yellow light. I used to have yellow light bulbs in here that I really liked. I got tired of them and I took them out. Now they're all soft white lights. I really, really, really don't like overhead lighting, and I hardly ever use it unless I have to. I really can't stand like that blue. Uh, remember those blue light bulbs they used to have where you turn them on and it'd take a long time for them to heat up and get bright? Can't stand those. I used to go to my grandparents' house a lot and they had those and it drove me crazy. Uh, I don't really like LED lighting as far as the white or the daylight bulbs, but soft white, that's really what I prefer. I find overhead light to just be really harsh. This is something that sort of drives people nuts about me, is that I'm very, very picky about lights and light bulbs. And if they are off, if the shade is off, if the lumens are off, it drives me nuts. It's just something that really bothers me. And so I have devoted a lot of time to finding the right light bulbs. And ideally, what I would really like to do is to have that, if I could, like if this was an option, I would have that lighting that is on the side of your room, like on the ceiling, where it is angled upwards, right? And so the light sort of comes down where it's much dimmer, it's softer light that way. I would really prefer that. Like, I don't know if they have this everywhere, but the eye doctor that I go to has these lights that point upwards and they make the whole building really, it's a really gentle light. I just don't like harsh overhead light at all. And sometimes in here I will pull back this curtain. In fact, most of the time when I'm not on camera, this curtain is pulled back. It's pulled back, it's pulled over the books because that is really the only way to let the air out. Uh, and when I do that, sometimes I open the blinds and the light comes in here. But I find that in this room, I sort of, when I'm sitting over here, so this is a north facing wall, there's not really enough light to make a book bright enough to read most of the time. But if I leave the lamp on, then it gets like this weird tint going on and it's really frustrating. So I sometimes have to like angle myself at a weird angle to catch the light in here. As for my living room, there is actually a window right behind my chair, but it looks into the garage. So when we moved into this house when I was young, there was a carport and my grandpa uh, enclosed it. Him and his friends got together and enclosed it. There's a garage there now, so it's just dark. So that window is basically useless. I forget it's even there, to be honest. And the big window faces the south, so the light comes in straight at me, so it's not really useful to read by or anything. It's usually bright enough in there during the day that I can read without a light on. But in the summer, I usually have the blinds closed anyway to keep most of the light out. I have them open a little ways to keep, let the dogs look out. But really, I don't like direct sunlight on a book anyway. It's just too bright. Makes the book really bright usually. So I suppose that I really prefer electric lights for reading. Or if you go and sit outside and you're under like a roof or something, like a porch or something like that, is fine too. But when it's just straight sunlight, because I have considered before, I thought about getting some of those, what are they? Skylights, the little skylights, where it's just a little thing that sits up in your ceiling. It's like a pipe and full of mirrors. But I don't think I've seen some, and they're really neat, right? And there are certain rooms where I would really like to have those. Like it would be nice to have one in my kitchen, my dining room, which they're the same room, just really large, and then my bathroom and that sort of thing. I've been wondering if I could get. This is way off topic, but I've been wondering if I could get skylights that would go all the way down to my basement into like my laundry room. That would be really nice to have. I don't know how, like the length of those, they're really expensive, I suppose, or very expensive by my standards compared to like a light bulb. But I don't know about having them in like in here or something like that. I don't know if I would like that. I think it would just be too harsh for me. Uh, Anyway, I feel like I have gone way off topic on a bunch of these questions and just like rambled a lot, but it was fun to ramble. And that is the last of our questions. And I want to thank Glenn for tagging me. I've really enjoyed doing this tag, and I hope that he is able to set up his reading space to really promote his reading. That would be nice. And I want to thank you for watching. Love to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you next time.